We cannot turn against one another by letting this fight be defined as a war between America and Islam.
Our war is not against Islam or against faith practiced by the Muslim people. Our war is a war against evil.
It is the responsibility of all Americans, of every faith, to reject discrimination. It's our responsibility to reject proposals that Muslim Americans should somehow be treated differently.
We reject every act of hatred against people of Arab background or Muslim faith. There are thousands of Muslims who proudly call themselves Americans. And they know what I know, that the Muslim faith is based upon peace and love and compassion.
Well, I think there can be profiling.
I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation.
Islamism is a radical extreme view. It is a theocratic and political view.
Muslim Americans are our friends and our neighbors, our co-workers, our sports heroes. And yes, they are our men and women in uniform who are willing to die in defense of our country. We have to remember that.
Islamophobia is the irrational fear of Islam in general and Muslims in that umbrella.
You might ask, what has perpetuated these stereotypes, these generalizations of Muslims that people make unconsciously with no thought, no facts, with absolutely no basis? There are many culprits, but I've ruled it down to one: mass media.
It's more of what parts of the terrorists is the media portraying as Islam, because that's what's happening. They're not showing any basis of what actual Islam is. They're not showing regular Muslims, the majority, the 99.998% of Muslims on this planet. They're not showing how they live. They're not showing what they do in their lives. Because if they wanted to, all they would see is just normal people going to work, praying 5 times a day, whenever they get a chance to, going to the masjid or the mosque, just trying to get by as a normal human being, because that's what we are. We're not terrorists. We're not this small fraction, 0.002% of the global Muslim population that isn't us. That it doesn't make any sense to try and correlate us to them.
Yeah. The global media has often failed to reflect objectivity, whether it be the demonization of Islamic leaders opposing basic rights, or the overwhelming coverage of Islamic militants. The mass media's role in planting a seed that portrays Islam to be inherently violent is a very real issue. Although many Muslims have tried to distinguish themselves from extremist groups, the mass media is depicting these groups to be representative of all 1.8 billion Muslims. News reports are expected to bring an unbiased, factual representation of current events. However, they twist the truth, hoping to attract a larger audience.
Welcome back to Hannity. We are witnessing Muslims on the march in Iraq and well beyond, all over the globe. Chaos abounds, and here with analysis to the jihad that's raging worldwide.
Wait, did you get that? I'll rewind it.
And here with analysis to the jihad that's raging worldwide.
Stop right here. In this clip, Sean Hannity equates jihad and chaos that's raging worldwide. Jihad literally means the struggle in the path of God. However, the Western media often abuses the meaning of jihad by referring to it as a holy war, where Muslims unreasonably kill non-believers. But the fact is that jihad can mean a number of things that a Muslim does for the sake of God. The media often takes the word jihad out of context to propagate negative views of Islam.
This is exactly how it started in Europe. Immigration, allowing them to come in carte blanche to European countries in the 60s to allow them to work. They stayed. Their kids are becoming radicalized. we are at risk of the same thing.
These people live to kill us, they live to attack us, they live to horrify us, and when people pull back, that's exactly what they want.
And therefore, I think that we ought to be very selective in allowing any Muslim or future Chinese students in here.
Hans and Sven are not on the FBI's most wanted list.
So they looked at the Quran and said, grab a meat cleaver and hack somebody up? Fantastic.
I think it's time for profiling, though, don't you, Ange? I think it's time for profiling because
I
the
do.
profile has been Middle Eastern Muslims who have blown people up or attempted to blow people up over the last 15 years.
I think that we should be able to put in listening devices in there. Is that possible? No.
No Muslim students coming here with visas. No more mosques being built here until you stand up and denounce what's happened in the name of your prophet. If we burn down your mosque here, you'd be really upset.
15 to 25% are radicalized. Now, not every single one of them wants to blow himself up, but they either support terrorists who want to blow themselves up, provide them with financing, provide them for money, provide them with logistical support. 15 to 25% have been radicalized.
These facile, inaccurate portrayals of Muslims displayed by the media are fostering a bias in the minds of many. As a result, these developing views of Muslims are making it more difficult for them to be a part of mainstream society, especially when they apply for jobs.
Have bosses who employ, or bosses in general, undergo classes that teaches them like sensitivity classes, like how to approach someone who isn't of the same race as you, or how to communicate with someone without being disrespectful, or how to do your job correctly without being discriminatory or hateful, even subtly, because it happens subtly. A lot of people kind of sit in their subconscious in a us versus them mentality, regardless of what situation they are in life. So if you could teach them and have them train to not use that when they're and encourage them to hire people regardless of if they match them in skin, if they match them in ethnicity, in religion, things like that, we'd have a much better workforce in general regardless.
A study done in France concluded Muslims were contacted far less by employers when compared to Jews and Catholics. According to these percentages, only about 10% of Muslims were contacted. When broken down by gender, men were less likely to be called back than women. Nonetheless, there is a clear discrimination when Muslims of both genders apply for a job. Through affirmative action, employers will set goals and timetables to hire a certain group of individuals, in this case Muslims. The failure to reach a goal in a given time will not necessarily be considered evidence of discrimination if the employer can show good faith effort to reach the goal. With the assimilation of more Muslims in the workforce, more people will be able to gain an understanding of what Islam really is. This may lead to a diminished Islamophobic rhetoric and safer and happier communities.
I would like to see the generalizing come to me, because the world is not black and white. You can't say this is that and this is this, no matter what. No. There's grays, there's blues, there's reds, there's everything in between. You can't do that. It makes the world a lot more dangerous when you do that, because if it's all black and white, it's either one thing or the other. It can't be anything in between. So to say all Muslims are terrorists, or all Christians are terrorists, that becomes incredibly dangerous for the people who aren't terrorists, whether they be Christian, whether they be Muslim, whether they be any religion that they claim to, or whether they don't have a religion to begin with. By the way, if anyone wants more information about Islam, you can come talk to me at the high school. You can go to the school's MSA club. That's the Muslim Student Association. We'll be glad to give you some more information. We're open to having discussions with people. If you felt like I was incorrect about it, you can come challenge me. Find me at the high school.